the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And it's been a really crazy week of NFL football, and it's a great first, week that I'm doing what I'm going to be doing from now on with these week, recaps for the NFL. I decided that I wanted to do more of just recapping some of the top storylines from each week. At the very end of the episode, I'm going to go like an insanely fast rapid fire, just kind of going through the games. But for now, I think that it's just a better idea for me to just go through some of these top storylines, talk about them in a little more detail, as opposed to, I feel like before I was just recapping saying, hey, this team won in case you didn't know. And I feel like a lot of people who watch this podcast know a lot about the NFL, or at least watch a lot of the games and know what happened, at least to check the stats and everything. So I didn't want it to just be me rattling off all the scores and recapping what happened. I kind of wanted to just talk about the storylines, some of the top, hotly contested topics about each week. So I feel like that's a better use of this video. And so I'm going to start things off with a welcome back to Joe Flacco. I mean, what a performance by a guy that was on his couch not too long ago, putting up 311 yards, 3 TDs, and 1 interception, out-dueling Trevor Lawrence. Of course, Lawrence was dealing with a ankle sprain, which I have no idea how he even played. That was incredible as well. Also, that's a storyline to be talked about. But Joe Flacco put this Browns team on his back and made this Browns team look like a team that now the Browns could be a dangerous team in the playoffs. You were looking at it just not too long ago after Watson getting hurt, and none of the Browns quarterbacks were really inspiring a whole lot of confidence, and you thought, okay, this Browns defense is good enough to get them here, but will they do anything in the playoffs? And I'm not saying, this could be a little bit of a overhype of Flacco, but it's definitely not an overhype to say that this is the best QB Cleveland has right now, with Watson being out, and that Flacco is this team's best bet to really make some noise in the playoffs. This defense is good enough where they could get that done the way that Flacco played in this game. If he even keeps up a fraction of that, I think this Browns team could potentially make some noise in the first round and even potentially beyond that. I think this is the main. Well, let me turn down the audio. You've dealt with this too, the stupid ESPN ads playing in the background, and you're trying to figure out, have multiple desktops, you're trying to figure it out. ESPN needs to stop with that. Anyway, Mahomes, this is the main storyline. I should have started with this one. I don't know what this dude is thinking. I mean, you lose a game off of, no one's saying that his frustration in general about the situation isn't warranted. Because yes, if you're a quarterback, you just witnessed your top, receiver, or technically he's a tight end, but let's face it, he's a receiver. You watch your best offensive player make something happen like that, and obviously that's also his close friend and all that. So it would have been one of the more miraculous plays this season, and it got called away due to a stupid penalty. And I understand the frustration, but the penalty is stupid because it was stupid that Tony committed it. It wasn't stupid because it was called. Whether or not you believe that that's a kind of call that should be made in that situation does not matter. It was a foul, it was noticed, and it was called. You can't have your foot more than 6 inches across the line in a situation where the game is on the line like that, down 3. You can't do that. It's a very, very easy thing to not do. And so Mahomes not only being frustrated for the wrong reason, because obviously you can definitely be frustrated with Tony because he's already been the cause of at least 2, if not more, losses for this Chiefs team, but you can't be upset with the refs. And the stupid thing is Mahomes wasn't even mad that the refs called it in the sense that he thought it was the wrong call. He was mad that the refs didn't pick up a flag that was obviously a foul. Mahomes thought that the refs should have picked it up simply because of how miraculous the play was, which is something that a lot of NFL fans were, you know, hinting that they were trying to do with the Chiefs. A lot of people saying, "Oh, the script writers and everyone's biased towards the Chiefs." I'm glad that this happened so that people could understand. No, the refs aren't biased towards the Chiefs. Sometimes some of the best QBs in the league get certain calls because of the respect they have in the NFL, but that's besides the point. And then for Mahomes to not only yell at the refs in the moment, for him to walk up to Josh Allen, who's just trying to walk up to his adversary, a guy that he respects so much, to give him a handshake and say, "Hey, good game," and he just spouts off to the winning QB about how bogus that call was. Josh Allen could have walked up to him and talked crap. That was a very emotional game for Josh Allen to win. And instead, he kept his composure, he had integrity, and he walked up and tried to shake his hand. And Mahomes just was yelling at anyone who would listen about how BS a call was that was a good call and actually should have been called. And he was mad and was trying to spout out to the winning QB about how that should have been picked up. And then he goes in after the game to the post-game interviews and spouts out off about it more, and saying things like, "Man, I get these refs are human, but I mean, you see this every week." And it's like, yes, you see bad calls every week, but the fact that so many teams have been screwed over by actual bad calls this season, and their QBs have stood in there and have delivered with composure, saying, "You know what? Regardless of what calls were made, we need to be better. I need to be better as a quarterback, and we need to find another way to win, regardless of what call was made." Pretty much any other QB would make that statement in a post game interview with a bad call, and he was going off complaining like a crybaby about a call that was correctly made that he felt should have been picked up. So I lost a lot of respect for Mahomes after that happened, and he just is not the guy that I thought he was. And yeah, it was one instant, and he was a sore loser in one instance. And I'm not saying anyone should hold that against him for the entire rest of his career, but it's just a bad look that the Chiefs are finally starting to struggle just a little bit, and all of a sudden he's acting like a sore loser and being a crybaby about it. It's just a bad look for him. The Texans are in big trouble due to a lot of the injuries they're sustaining. C.J. Stroud, we'll see if he gets out of concussion protocol. But then Collins goes down just a week after Tank Dell goes down. I mean, this is a short and sweet storyline here, but the Texans, it's unfortunate for them because they were right in that race. I'm not saying that they should have been that close in that game against a team that they should have definitely beat by a lot more, and but I do think they would have won that game without those injuries, without Stroud getting hurt, without all those different factors. It's just unfortunate because they were in that situation where the Jags lost. They would have been in a really good situation had they pulled this off, and then those injuries are screwing them over. If Nico Collins is out for a long period of time, with Tank Dell already being out most likely for the rest of the season, I mean, this is just really bad for the Texans, and it sucks to see this happen when they had such a promising season. That being said, I don't think I expected the Texans to go much further than the first round, even if they did make the playoffs, and they still have a chance. But all I'm trying to say is their future is bright no matter what, and that's what Texans fans should be focusing on right now because they weren't supposed to make the playoffs this year anyway. Still have a chance though. Are the Ravens? These next couple storylines here are all about teams that lost this week or almost lost this week, and questioning whether or not they are a team that's going to be successful in the playoffs. The first one is the Baltimore Ravens. They win off of a miraculous win against a Rams team that is sneaky good. I have suspicions with the Ravens, and it just feels like they are a team that is set up to win in the regular season. I just I feel like they're streaky enough where I have a lot of concerns about if they're going up against a really good defense or a high-powered offense like, say, the Dolphins or the Chiefs, and those are two teams that we're also talking about right now as not being as good as we thought they were a couple weeks ago. But still, those high-powered offenses or high-powered defenses, if the Ravens get off to a slow start, I don't know if I have confidence that they're going to be able to catch back up. And some of this is how close some of their games have been. Some of this is how their strength of victory has looked this season. And some of it is just gut feeling from how I've watched this team. Going through some of these other teams here, the Detroit Lions, they've now lost multiple games within the NFC North to the Bears and the Packers. Now, the Packers are definitely looking like a better team in the last few weeks. They did just lose this week, but that was a better team. And then the Bears are also playing a little bit better, but you got to win those games if you're going to say that you are going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs and deserve to make it past that first round. And I'm rooting so hard for the Lions. I really am. It doesn't matter if I'm a Vikings fan. The Lions deserve this. But it feels like their defense is playing worse and worse now. It's morphing back into what it was last season. The Lions, I've said it before, they are a momentum-based team. If they pick up enough steam before the playoffs, they have a legitimate shot. And the Vikings, they're playing the Vikings twice, so that's definitely a good team to try and build some momentum off of. But it all comes down to momentum, and when you're a momentum driven team solely, I have concerns about that going into the playoffs. Also, the Philadelphia Eagles. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles schedule, they're coming off of a 33-13 rout at the hands of the Cowboys. I'm just going to go over really quick all the teams they beat. Patriots, Vikings, Bucks, Commanders, Rams. They did beat the Dolphins, but then they beat the Commanders, Cowboys in a close game, Chiefs, Bills. And the good teams that they've beat, I really feel like they got their worst game of the season. It's kind of like the way I feel like the Packers used to get lucky in recent seasons with Aaron Rodgers in, where it just felt like any team they played, it was the worst game that team had all season long. The Dolphins only scored 17 points against them. When they lost to the Cowboys, that was honestly a pretty impressive win. But the Chiefs, it was a 21-17 game. Neither team played well. The Bills almost beat them, and then they just got killed by the 49ers and Cowboys. I just feel like there's some weak points in this team, and I just got a feeling that if they fall behind in the playoffs, I don't know. Maybe this is part of my bias. And out of these four teams that I'm talking about here, I feel like the Eagles are still the best out of these. I don't know. I just feel like they're an upset waiting to happen in the playoffs based on what I've seen the last couple of weeks. And some of this might be recency bias. You can call me out on that, but I don't know. I just get a gut feeling. And then the Dolphins, they just lost. I'm literally recording this maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes after that game ended. Just lost to the Tennessee Titans. And so that puts them at what, 9-5, 9-4. Yeah, 9-4. And so it was a really rough loss. And I got the upset of the week right in the Giants over the Packers. I was gonna pick Titans over Dolphins originally, so I would have gotten it right either way. So you can put that on the board. I did get one, or I think I got two now upsets of the week predictions correct so far this season. But the Dolphins are another team. You look at the teams that they've beat, and it just feels like they're another team where they really rely on a couple players. They rely on Tyreek, they rely on Mostert, and they rely on Tua. And their defense has not been as good as of late. They just let the Titans and Will Levis put up 28 against them. And you look at the teams they've beaten: Chargers, Pats, Broncos, Giants, Panthers, Patriots, Raiders, Jets, and Commanders. They have not beaten anyone good this whole season. Their losses came to the Titans, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Bills. Besides the Titans, those are the only good teams they've played this season, and they've lost to all of them. The Dolphins are a team that I definitely think could still make something happen in the playoffs, but that track record just is not good. I really want to see how they played throughout the rest of this year against the Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills. Because if they show resolve against those teams and show upward trajectory going into the postseason, maybe I'll believe something different. But right now, I just don't know. Finally, the Steelers' defense feels like it's proving to not be enough in recent weeks. The Browns, I was thinking would be the same story. They've proven me wrong, where they've now shown that their offense could be good enough to actually propel them forward. But this Steelers offense just is not doing enough. This defense is out on the field so much to the point where it feels like, I mean, you can't put this 21 points that the Pats scored against the Steelers on the defense, because when you're out there that long, I mean, what do you expect? You know, I just don't know with this team. There's nothing good going on with their offense, and the defense can't do everything. Defense can definitely take you far. The Vikings proved that this week, but I just don't know. I don't think the Steelers are going to be. I don't think they're going to end up making the playoffs the way this is going. So that's my personal take. But anyway, those are the main storylines. I'm trying to think, are there any games here that I want to go over that I haven't talked about? Let's just do a quick rapid fire here. Packers lose to the Giants 24-22. Jordan Love with a horrible outing, and the Packers defense looks pretty bad. The Giants tried to give this game away to the Packers, and they still didn't want it. So great to be a Vikings fan watching the Packers struggle like that. Let's see here. Buccaneers beat the Falcons. Honestly, Ritter puts up a pretty impressive performance, and Drake London has the game of his career so far. But the Bucs just pull away at the last second. Bears beat the Lions, like I talked about. Lions could be looking like frauds, but we're going to have to see. Fields outplayed Goff in this game, a little bit embarrassing. Bengals beat the Colts. I mean, Jake Browning is a really incredible story as the Colts fall to 7-6, and there's going to be a lot of 7-6 teams now heading into the last few weeks of this season. Browns beat the Jags 31-27. It was really Flacco playing incredible, and Lawrence coming off his injury, not quite able to do enough, even with a valiant comeback attempt in the fourth quarter. Saints beat the Panthers, nothing much to say there. Bryce Young with 137 yards and no touchdowns. Just rough start to his career. Jets, Texans, a combination of really bad defense by the Texans. I mean, how do you give up 301 yards and 2 TDs to Zach Wilson? But also some injuries really do the Texans in, and they also fall to 7-6, excuse me. Ravens again win 37-31. Not what I would expect. Didn't expect the offensive, explosion for both teams, but a crazy overtime punt return for a touchdown wins it for the Ravens. They hold the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. 49ers do 49ers things, beat the Seahawks 28-16. Purdy with 368 yards, 2 TDs and INT, and the defense does its thing as well. 49ers aren't going to lose the rest of the season. I stand by that. Bills beat the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is a crybaby, and honestly, this Bills defense put up a really impressive performance. You can't put up 17 against the Bills and then complain about the last call of the game. It was a crazy play, though, by Kelsey. Kelsey doing what he does, but it was a penalty. Broncos beat the Chargers 24-7. Chargers, I'm done with you. How many times have I tried to defend you and watch you just put up this kind of a performance? Of course, my 2 teams that I decided I wanted to root for when I was little were the Vikings, because I'm a diehard fan, and the Chargers because I thought they looked cool. And of course, a Minnesota fan would pick another secondary team to also suck and be mediocre their entire franchise history. Cowboys kill the Eagles 33-13 as Dak Prescott puts up another impressive performance, continues to try and prove me wrong, and the Eagles are looking like potential frauds in the NFC. So that does it for all that. Thank you so much for watching this one. Please let me know if you like this format, me just kind of going rapid fire through the actual games and kind of digging more into the top storylines. I personally like it a lot more. I think it's more entertaining for you guys as well. So let me know if you want me to keep doing it that way. Some really important games coming up the next few weeks, and it's going to be a lot of fun as these games tick away. I made my fantasy playoffs, excited about that, but a lot of exciting things coming for the NFL. A lot of MLB content is going to be coming as well, I think, as the Twins start their off season, and with Shohei Ohtani signing, the Twins could start making whatever moves they end up making, if they do any, in the next few days. But thanks so much for watching this video. Really excited for the next few weeks, and I'll see you on the flip side.